Hello darlings, and welcome to the video. Today's video is going to be mainly a writing vlog. I'll also be talking a little bit about my headspace with YouTube and where I am with YouTube and what I'm thinking about doing, where I'm thinking about heading. But mostly we're going to be talking about writing. Darla is going to be joining us apparently. She's just going to be sleeping in the background and being super cute. But let's get into it. So I want to start with just talking about where I am with YouTube and the channel. I feel like that's going to be probably the easiest thing to go over quickly and just kind of get it out in the air. I feel like I've struggled a lot with YouTube and figuring out how it works and how to get my videos noticed, and I feel like I've failed a lot in that area. I've been on YouTube for a little over a year, and like a year and a month, and I only have like 46 subscribers, and there's like only one person who consistently watches every single one of my videos and comments on them, and it's someone who knows me in real life. I'm beginning to question where I'm going. Like, do I like what I'm making? How could I make what I'm making more interesting? Or if I want to make something different, what do I want to make? I guess I don't want AuthorTube to feel so much like a chore. And I want to feel like the content I'm putting out there is something people want to see. And more importantly, I want people to actually be seeing it. For me to feel kind of like satisfied with what I'm doing, I have to see the results of it, which is a really hard part of almost everything I do, because a lot of what I do in my life is like working solo for a long time on something and then hoping I'll see the outcome of it and the results of it later. So it is an unfortunate mindset that I'm just kind of built in with. That's how I've always been. I have to see the results to feel like I'm succeeding and to feel like what I'm doing is worthwhile. And so with YouTube, I don't feel that way right now. And I'm not saying that I'm gonna like quit and just like stop making YouTube. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right, and most importantly, if what I'm making is what I want to make, or am I making it because that's what's expected of an AuthorTuber? Because honestly, if you look at AuthorTube, like almost everyone makes the same kind of content, and so you'll have like a video that's like 3 tips to this, or how to not do this, or writing mistakes you're making, but there's like 50 billion of them, and you know what I mean? Like, a lot of being in any niche market is just regurgitating information that's already been said 1,000 times. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's a good strategy because you know people are going to be looking that up. But for me, it's like, can I even contribute to this conversation when I feel like everything's already been said? What would I rather say? What would I rather do? So that's kind of the mindset I'm in with YouTube and AuthorTube, and just trying to figure out what I'm doing. And that's why I've been real semi-consistent since I started posting again this year, but I missed last week, and I'm at like a place right now where I think I'm just going to spend the rest of this week and maybe some of next week really trying to figure out, you know, like, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I'm aiming for now versus when I started the channel? And it's definitely been a hard thing to figure out on my own, and I hope that I will figure it out and find my groove. And if I don't, then I don't, and maybe YouTube isn't for me, but I'm gonna give it a solid try again after reevaluating before like hanging a pack kind of situation. Okay, so enough about YouTube. Let's jump into talking about writing. My W.I.P, my work in progress, OFF, which is what I call it. It's an acronym, OFF, OFF. I've been struggling with it for some time now, and I think the issue is that I've been working on it for a long time, too long, in my opinion, but at the same time, I have to give myself some lax on it because, so originally I came up with the idea in high school and I worked on it for a few years, like for funsies. And it was 2 different stories, and I didn't think it was going to turn into anything, you know. It was just a story I was writing to pass the time in fashion class because I was bored, you know. It was like that kind of situation. And then I took some years off from writing it because, as I said before, I wasn't like entirely sure it was going to be anything. And then when I decided that I could make something out of it that was worth reading, hopefully, I had to do like a lot of work into it because it was originally 2 stories. I had to combine it into one, and I didn't go to college or anything, so everything that I've learned writing wise is like self-learned or learned from like grade school. So it was rough when I decided to pick it up again and try to outline it, try to figure out what to keep, what not to keep. And at the same time, for a lot of the years that I've been working on the book, I haven't been able to work on the book consistently because I had a lot of going on in my personal life. So it was hard for me to manage my time and to like work on it every single day, figure out where I was going. So I ended up having like long pauses in between writing sessions, and so that caused some issues as well. And it got to a point where like I finished it, but then I realized that I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I didn't pay attention to word count, and now the book is like big enough to be 3 different books. And I've been editing it for at least, I'm gonna say 2 or 3 years, and just trying to like get it cut down. And it's started to feel like an impossible task, and it's starting to feel very overwhelming. And I was taking a walk with my sister last night, and I just kind of started crying about it because it's getting to the point where I just want to work on something else. And that kind of hurts because I spent so much time on this that I don't want to like give up on it, but I feel very hopeless about it. And so a friend of mine who isn't a writer, I mean, he's written some, but he's not like an active writer or anything. He has offered to go through each chapter and help me try to edit it down. And I think that will be helpful because, you know, like, I'm the only person who's ever read any of this pretty much. Like, maybe 1 or 2 people have read the first chapter, but that's it. And I think sometimes having an extra pair of eyes to be like, this is unnecessary, or, you know, while this is cool, does it really add to the plot kind of situation, that might help me trim down the book without feeling so overwhelmed doing it myself. And I definitely feel like if I could just get past the word count issue, like any book I write in the future, I won't have the same problem because I've learned from the mistakes that I was making when I was very young. You know, I've learned that you need to pay attention to word count per chapter, but also overall in the book because when I started writing this, I did not realize there were so many word count restrictions to certain genres. And I believe that my book would probably be published under YA. And so having like a 300K book, it will never be published under YA at 300K. And so I thought about dividing it, and I might still do that, but I do think that just having someone else look at it will help. I don't like really have a critique partner. I don't know a lot of other writers. I know a lot of other poets, but I don't know a lot of other story writers. And so it's been a struggle, and I don't want to give up on it. But while we're going through and he's looking through each chapter, I do think I might work on something else. And so that's bringing us to where we are now. I have a lot of other story ideas I want to write, which is why it's been such a struggle to be just stuck on this one story. I don't know how well I would be like writing a new book while editing an old book, but I might try that. But first I just thought that I would write some short stories, because I have some ideas for some short stories, and I think that would get me back into the flow of writing and could help reinvigorate my sense of inspiration and get me back into just that headspace that you have as a writer of creating something new and not feeling like you're drowning in something that you're that you've been working on for a long time. And so that's the goal. But I haven't written a short story in a while. I kind of wrote one maybe in 2019. Maybe. But I've noticed that I am what I like to call a long writer, which means that I write too much, as you might have been able to tell by the 300K long YA novel that I'm drowning in. So I have decided that I need to maybe outline more. Naturally, I just like to pants things or plants them, but I'm going to try to outline a little more stricter than before, but also give myself space to veer off if a story goes in a different direction naturally, because that's something I'm really passionate about, is not restricting myself to original ideas that I had when something else could actually be better that I figure out along the way. But I also want to make sure that I never have a massive word count problem again. So I'm going to do some research on short stories, and I'm going to do some outlining, and hopefully I'm going to write a few short stories this year that are not ridiculously long and not like little novellas, but are actually short stories that are well confined plots that make a lot of sense and that just make me feel happy to be a writer, and that make me feel like I'm actually writing again and not just this perpetual editor of my own work. So that's where I've been in the headspace of my book. So I have just kind of a Google Keep note that is just filled with story ideas. And I'm in the process of transferring these things over to Notion. I'm going to have them on both platforms, just because I like to have like backups of things in other places. But Notion will help me have it more organized, and when I have that more set up, I'll show y'all how I have my my Notion hub set up, if that's something you would like to see how I'm organizing my stories and my poetry collection that I'm working on. But so I have under shorts 6 short story ideas right now. Now, 2 of them, I'm kind of in a space of not knowing, like, would this be better as a novella or a novel or a short story? So I'm not sure I'm going to work on those right now because I want to make sure going in, like, I'm confident on how much story it needs. So that would leave us with the other 3 stories, or 4. I think it's 4 stories that I feel are pretty good for a short form. Now, I don't know if any of these are going to end up being micro stories or flash stories. I think a few of them might end up being, but for the most part, I think they're all going to be like a full short story. So, if I'm remembering correctly, a short story runs like 5,000 to 10,000 words. I will be sure before I start writing. And I think the one that I'm leaning most towards doing right now, there's like 3 that I'm looking at right now. One is, I'm going to call it ADFD. That's the acronym for it. I don't like to give away my titles for the most part, just because you never know when someone might snatch it up. But ADFD, it would be kind of like a psychological horror story. That's really relevant to me right now because it's about the fear of not achieving your goals and your dreams and kind of like withering away. And so that's kind of the general premise of the story. The next story I'm looking at is TBC, and that one is more of a, I guess I'll say, paranormal horror story as well. Actually, I think all of the ones that I'm looking at right now are horror stories. This one's pretty much more of like a straight up horror, though. I think might have a little bit of some psychological aspects to it. And the last one I'm looking at is a ghost story. And this one is kind of about, I would say, the cycle of ghosts. And that's all I feel like comfortable like saying about it, because I feel like if I describe it at all, it's going to be like, here's everything, here's the whole plot. But I would say the life cycle of a ghost in a sense, and kind of how it would feel to be, I guess, eternally trapped in the space in which you died. And while I'm looking at the notes, I thought it would be fun to tell y'all how many other story ideas I have in general. So we were just looking at the shorts, and I think I said I had 6. Under series, I have 3 different series ideas right now. Scratch that. I'm going to say 4 because one of the ideas that I put under like singles, like a single novel, I think would end up actually being more of a series. So 4 series ideas and 4 single novel ideas. And then I actually have a few, like 5 screenplay ideas. I haven't ever written a screenplay before, but I love movies and I have a lot of ideas for things that, for stories I think that would fit as a movie, and it is something that I would really like to do one day. So I don't know the math to that because I didn't pay attention, but right here is the number of story ideas I have that have just been sitting here waiting for me to write them because I'm struggling with editing my book, my W.I.P. I don't know, guys. I know that as writers we come up with a lot of ideas, and it's always just like you want to write all of them and you're like, I can't, I gotta do one at a time, and that's fine. It just sometimes feels like one project takes so much time and so much energy, sucking the energy out of you. But I'm gonna really push forward. I'm gonna believe in myself. I'm going to let my friend read the book and help me out. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna write some short stories. And I'm also gonna decide what book I wanna write next, because I do think I wanna get to the point where I can write 2 books at the same time, or at least edit one book and write another book at the same time. Because I do think taking breaks from the editing process, if you're like me and you just absolutely loathe editing and cutting and all of that, just like stresses you out so much, I think taking breaks from that to work on something new and to actually be writing, I think that could help. And in a way, poetry helps with that too, because at least I'm writing something new there. But I also have to take breaks to actually edit the poems I'm writing, because I am working on a new poetry collection. But this video seems to be getting a bit long, so I don't want to go too much into the poetry collection. And for right now, I think I'm going to wrap up the video. I was going to show some of me outlining some short stories, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of research first, and so I'll save that for the next vlog. And I think I might try to do a little bit more vlogging and showing a little bit more of my writing process, to also just keep me accountable, but also to like write more, because I'm like here, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to do it, I'm talking to you guys about it. So I think that's something I may do more in the future. I don't know. If you would like to see that, let me know. Okay, darlings, that's it for today's video. If you liked today's video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. Don't forget to tippity tap in the comments below to tell me what you thought of this video and what would you like to see from my channel. If you made it this far, please pick up your bonus points here. And always remember to rise from your ashes, darlings. Until next time.